Hello and welcome to the first episode of Simpsons Spin. My name is Tristan and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Nate. Simpsons Spin is a podcast where me and Nate go back and pick out certain episodes that we either like, are claimed to be the best, or potentially are controversial. Simpsons Spin can be broken down into three basic parts: intro, summary, and our opinion. So, let's get into it. Today, we will be covering Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, Season 1, Episode 1, originally airing on December 17th, 1989. This was originally supposed to be the 8th episode of the season, but because of animation issues with Some Enchanted Evening, it was moved to become the new pilot. This episode actually was where the Jingle Bell parody, Jingle Bells Batman Smells Robin Laid Egg, originally came from, and would 3 years later be aired on the Batman animated series. In this episode, it is Christmas, and Homer does not receive his Christmas bonus, and Bart gets a tattoo. So to remove the tattoo, Marge uses the Simpsons savings jar for Christmas to remove the tattoo. So when Homer realizes this, he gets a secret job working as a mall Santa, but keeps this from the rest of his family and Marge. Then when Bart is at the mall, he realizes that Homer is working as a mall Santa, and the two share a good moment when Bart realizes that Homer would end up doing a lot to make sure his family gets a good Christmas. So Homer then gets paid, but his paycheck is only $13.
$13!
So reluctantly, Bart and Homer go with Barney to the dog racing. They end up betting all their money on a last entry named Santa's Little Helper. Santa's Little Helper ends up coming in dead last, and his owner throws him out, but Santa's Little Helper ends up finding Homer, and Homer and Bart take him home. The episode ends with Homer going home and confessing to Marge that he didn't get his Christmas bonus and was sorry that he couldn't give them the Christmas he thinks they deserve. Marge says it's okay and ends up saying that he did give them the best gift of all, something to share their love. Obviously, Santa's Little Helper. And thus concludes the episode. So Nate, would you like to go first?
Absolutely, I would. All right, this episode really covers a lot of different topics, mostly, of course, the Christmas setup, but, you see it take place, a mall, pageant, at the power plant, all these different places that then becomes consistent in the Simpsons history. The first scene of the episode, I believe, in particular, really stands out, featuring, of course, the iconic Jingle Bells parody of, Batman Smells. That's great, but I think that it stands out to represent all of the characters. Homer is trying his best to make his family happy and acting a little off while doing it. Marge is excited to see her kids up on stage. Lisa is doing a dance with fire, impressing everyone. Bart is causing trouble as usual, and Maggie is also there. One of the standout points I see in this episode is the dynamic between the characters and how that goes on to become such a constant in the show. Really, I feel like even though this wasn't planned to be the first episode, it was the perfect first episode in many ways, representing how Homer would do anything for his family, how much he hates Ned Flanders, his neighbor who appears in the episode, and somewhat represents this idealistic American family, while Homer represents the more realistic side of less than put together American family. That, of course, becomes a constant throughout the episodes, but it's excellent to see that represented in Homer attempting to, say, shop for presents in one scene and running into Flanders buying much more exuberant presents for his family and feeling less than.
Oh my, what a little mess we've got here. Well, which ones are yours and which ones are mine?
Well, let's see.
Oh, this one's mine, and this one's mine. This one's mine. And
They're all yours.
Well, happy holidays, Simpson.
Hey, Dad, this is going to be the best Christmas ever.
You bet.
It's very interesting as well with Bart's troublemaking is obviously constant throughout the series and is what made The Simpsons popular in the early days. But throughout this episode, you see him get a tattoo, but he attempts to get a tattoo that says mother on it, in love for his mom and also because he wants a tattoo. The point that I'm trying to make here with Bart is that he is not purely getting into mischief so he can get into mischief. He is doing it for another reason, that is to be, say, more noticed by his family and given respect. That's all the thoughts I really have on that.
All right, cool. I would like to start by saying this is not the best episode, and it's far from being the best episode. There are definitely like a handful of episodes that are much better than this one objectively. But what this episode does great is it's an amazing pilot. It's an amazing jumping off point for The Simpsons. And like Nate said, even from the first scene, you get and understand the basic characters of the main Simpsons. And that's something this episode did really well, was set the tone of a more real and grounded and almost gritty show, and that was like really not as popular when the show first aired. That's like one of the reasons Simpsons would become like the pinnacle of counterculture, because it depicted a more realistic family. You know, like they're not perfect, they fight with each other, they have money problems and just stuff like that. And that made them more relatable and could like be said that is why they're so popular. Many people like relate to their problems. And I would also like to add to what Nate said, like how Flanders is the perfect golden classic American family that like TV wants us to depict and wants America to be. But then you have on the other side Homer and The Simpsons, which is the realistic, real American family. One last thing I want to add is that the whole part where Santa's little helper, because he didn't win the race, gets thrown out and abandoned by his owner.
You came in last for the last time.
Look, Dad, it's Santa's little helper.
And don't come back.
The writers of the show actually didn't mean to like take a stance on that, but they ended up getting a lot of letters from fans that watched the episode saying like, thank you for taking a stance on this, because at the time it was pretty prominent, but the writers didn't even intend that would happen, and they didn't really know that it was a problem to begin with. So yeah. Anything else you want to add before we go, Nate?
Everybody have a good night or morning, whatever you are, wherever you are.
All right, so I think our next episode is going to be Bart Gets an F, and we encourage you to watch Bart Gets an F and then come back and listen to episode 2 of the podcast when it airs. This has been Tristan and Nate signing off till next time.